Imagine a life so profoundly intertwined with the essence of East and West that it crosses continents, touches diverse lives, and ultimately leads to a revelation about the world's hidden truths. This chapter of Swami Vivekananda's journey is one of deep encounters, reflective solitude, and a contemplative departure. As the Swami's travels bring him face to face with prominent figures and timeless philosophies, his reflections become a mirror to his inner transformation and the broader human condition. In this episode, we delve into the latter part of Swami Vivekananda's European sojourn. From Parisian salons to profound spiritual insights amidst ancient monuments, Vivekananda's interactions with influential personalities and his critical reflections on Western society paint a picture of a man whose understanding transcends geographical and cultural boundaries. Join us as we explore the Swami's poignant observations, his spiritual yearnings, and the final stages of his remarkable journey. During his stay in Paris, the Swami met such prominent people as Professor Patrick Geddes of Edinburgh University, Père Hyacinthe, Hiram Maxim, Sarah Bernhardt, Jules Bois, and Madame Emma Calve. Père Hyacinthe, a Carmelite monk who had renounced his vows, had married an American lady and assumed the name of Charles Loyson. The Swami, however, always addressed him by his old monastic name and described him as endowed with a very sweet nature and the temperament of a lover of God. Maxim, the inventor of the gun associated with his name, was a great connoisseur and lover of India and China. Sarah Bernhardt also bore a great love for India, which she often described as very ancient, very civilized. To visit India was the dream of her life. Madame Calve the Swami had met in America, and now he came to know her more intimately. She became one of his devoted followers. She was born poor, he once wrote of her, but by her innate talents, prodigious labor and diligence, and after wrestling against much hardship, she is now enormously rich and commands respect from kings and emperors. The rare combination of beauty, youth, talents, and divine voice has assigned Calve the highest place among the singers of the West. There is indeed no better teacher than misery and poverty. That constant fight against the dire poverty, misery, and hardship of the days of her girlhood, which has led to her present triumph over them, has brought into her life a unique sympathy and a depth of thought with a wide outlook. After the Swami's passing away, Madame Calve visited the Belur Mut, the headquarters of the Ramakrishna mission. In old age, she embraced the Catholic faith and had to give up officially her allegiance to Swami Vivekananda. But one wonders whether she was able to efface him from her heart. Jules Bois, with whom the Swami stayed for a few days in Paris, was a distinguished writer. "We have," the Swami wrote to a disciple, "many great ideas in common and feel happy together." Most of the Swami's time in Paris was devoted to the study of French culture and especially the language. He wrote a few letters in French. About the culture, his appreciation was tempered with criticism. He spoke of Paris as the home of liberty. There, the ethics and society of the West had been formed, and its university had been the model of all others. But in a letter to Swami Turiyananda, dated September 1st, 1900s, he also wrote, "The people of France are mere intellectualists. They run after worldly things and firmly believe God and souls to be mere superstitions. They are extremely loath to talk on such subjects." This is truly a materialistic country. After the Congress of the History of Religions was concluded, the Swami spent a few days at Lannion in Brittany as the guest of Mise Sol, Bull. Sister Nivedita, who had just returned from America, was also in the party. There, in his conversations, the Swami dwelt mostly on Buddha and his teachings. Contrasting Buddhism with Hinduism, he one day said that the former exhorted men to realize all this as illusion, while Hinduism asked them to realize that within the illusion is the real. Of how this was to be done, Hinduism never presumed to enunciate any rigid law. The Buddhist command could only be carried out through monasticism, The Hindu might be fulfilled through any state of life. All alike were roads to the one real. One of the highest and the greatest expressions of the faith is put into the mouth of a butcher, preaching by the orders of a married woman to a sannyasin. Thus Buddhism became the religion of a monastic order, but Hinduism, in spite of its exaltation of monasticism, remains ever the religion of faithfulness to daily duty, whatever it may be, as the path by which man may attain to God. From Lannion, on St. Michael's Day, he visited Mont Saint-Michel. He was struck by the similarity between the rituals of Hinduism and Roman Catholicism. He said, "Christianity is not alien to Hinduism." Nivedita took leave of the Swami in Brittany and departed for England in order to raise funds for her work on behalf of Indian women. While giving her his blessings, the Swami said, "There is a peculiar sect of Mohammedans who are reported to be so fanatical that they take each newborn babe and expose it, saying, 'If God made thee, perish. If Ali made thee, live.' Now this which they say to the child, I say, but in the opposite sense to you tonight, go forth into the world, and there, if I made you, be destroyed. If Mother made you, live." Perhaps the Swami remembered how some of his beloved Western disciples, unable to understand the profundity of his life and teachings, had deserted him. He also realized the difficulties Westerners experienced in identifying themselves completely with the customs of India. He had told Nivedita, before they left India, that she must resume, as if she had never broken them off, all her old habits and social customs of the West. On October 24, 1900s, Swami Vivekananda left Paris for the East, by way of Vienna and Constantinople. Besides the Swami, the party consisted of Monsieur and Madame Loisson, Jules Bois, Madame Carve, and Miss MacLeod. The Swami was Carve's guest. In Vienna, the Swami remarked, "If Turkey is called the sick man of Europe, Austria ought to be called the sick woman of Europe." The party arrived in Constantinople after passing through Hungary, Serbia, Romania, and Bulgaria. Next, the Swami and his friends came to Athens. They visited several islands and a Greek monastery. From Athens, they sailed to Egypt, and the Swami was delighted to visit the museum in Cairo. While in Cairo, he and his women devotees, one day, in the course of sightseeing, unknowingly entered the part of the city in which the girls of ill fame lived. And when the inmates hurled coarse jokes at the Swami from their porches, the ladies wanted to take him away, but he refused to go. Some of the prostitutes came into the street, and the ladies saw from a distance that they knelt before him and kissed the hem of his garment. Presently, the Swami joined his friends and drove away. In Cairo, the Swami had a presentiment that something had happened to Mr. Sevier. He became restless to return to India, took the first available boat, and sailed for Bombay alone. Throughout his European tour, the Swami's friends had noticed that he was becoming more and more detached from the spectacle of external things and buried in meditation. A sort of indifference to the world was gradually overpowering him. On August 14th, he had written to a friend that he did not expect to live long. From Paris, he wrote to Turiyananda, "My body and mind are broken down. I need rest badly. In addition, there is not a single person on whom I can depend. On the other hand, as long as I live, all will be very selfish, depending upon me for everything." In Egypt, the Swami had seemed to be turning the last pages of his life experience. One of the party later remarked how tired and world-weary he seemed. Nivedita, who had had the opportunity of observing him closely during his second trip to the West, writes, "The outstanding impression made by the Swami's bearing during all these months of European and American life was one of almost complete indifference to his surroundings. Current estimates of value left him entirely unaffected. He was never in any way startled or incredulous under success, being too deeply convinced of the greatness of the power that worked through him to be surprised by it. But neither was he unnerved by external failure. Both victory and defeat would come and go. He was their witness. He moved fearless and unhesitant through the luxury of the West." As determinedly as I had seen him in India, dressed in the two garments of simple folk, sitting on the floor and eating with his fingers, so equally without doubt or shrinking, was his acceptance of the complexity of the means of living in America or France. Monk and king, he said, were the obverse and reverse of a single medal. From the use of the best to the renunciation of all was but one step. India had thrown all her prestige in the past round poverty. Some prestige was in the future to be cast round wealth. For some time the Swami had been trying to disentangle himself from the responsibilities of work. He had already transferred the property of the Belur Mutt from his own name to the trustees of the organization. On August 25, 1900s, he had written to Nivedita from Paris, "Now I am free, as I have kept no power or authority or position for me in the work. I also have resigned the presidentship of the Ramakrishna mission. The Mutt, etc. belong now to the immediate disciples of Ramakrishna except myself. The presidentship is now Brahmananda's. Next it will fall on Premananda, etc. in turn. I am so glad a whole load is off me. Now I am happy. I no longer represent anybody, nor am I responsible to anybody. As to my friends, I had a morbid sense of obligation. I have thought well and find I owe nothing to anybody. If anything, I have given my best energies unto death almost, and received only hectoring and mischief-making and botheration. Your letter indicates that I am jealous of your new friends. You must know once for all I am born without jealousy, without avarice, without the desire to rule and whatever other vices I may be born with. I never directed you before. Now, after I am nobody in the work, I have no direction whatever. I only know this much: so long as you serve Mother with a whole heart, she will be your guide. I never had any jealousy about what friends you made. I never criticized my brethren for mixing up in anything. Only I do believe the Western people have the peculiarity of trying to force upon others whatever seems good to them, forgetting that what is good for you may not be good for others. As such, I am afraid you would try to force upon others whatever turn your mind might take in contact with new friends. That was the only reason I sometimes tried to stop any particular influence, and nothing else. You are free. Have your own choice, your own work. Friends or foes, they are all instruments in our hands to help us work out our own karma through pleasure or pain. As such, Mother, bless all. How did America impress Swami Vivekananda during his second visit to the West? What impressions did he carry to India of the state of things in the New World? During his first visit, he had been enthusiastic about almost everything he saw: the power, the organization, the material prosperity, the democracy, and the spirit of freedom and justice. But now he was greatly disillusioned. In America's enormous combinations and ferocious struggle for supremacy, he discovered the power of mammon. He saw that the commercial spirit was composed, for the most part, of greed, selfishness, and a struggle for privilege and power. He was disgusted with the ruthlessness of wealthy businessmen, swallowing up the small tradespeople by means of large combinations. That was indeed tyranny. He could admire an organization. But what beauty is there among a pack of wolves? He said to a disciple. He also noticed in all their nakedness the social vices and the arrogance of race, religion, and color. America, he confided to Miss MacLeod, would not be the instrument to harmonize East and West. During his trip through Eastern Europe from Paris to Constantinople, he smelt war. He felt the stench of it rising on all sides. Europe, he remarked, is a vast military camp. But the tragedy of the West had not been altogether unperceived by him even during his first visit. As early as 1895, he said to Sister Christine, "Europe is on the edge of a volcano. If the fire is not extinguished by a flood of spirituality, it will erupt." One cannot but be amazed at the Swami's prophetic intuition as expressed through the following remarks made to Christine in 1896. "The next upheaval will come from Russia or China. I cannot see clearly which, but it will be either the one or the other." He further said, "The world is in the third epoch, under the domination of the Vaishya. The fourth epoch will be under that of the Shudra. In our next episode, we now turn to Swami Vivekananda's return to India, where he faces personal losses and health challenges while fulfilling his mother's lifelong wish. Join us as we delve into this final chapter of his life, exploring his emotional struggles, spiritual mission, and the profound impact of his final travels. Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, turn on the notifications, like, comment, and share with your friends. This will help more listeners to discover our channel and content.